Well, thank you everybody for hopping on with us today. It's really great to have so many live attendees. And if you happen to be joining us later watching the recording, I hope that you take something of value out of our time here together today. I just want to point out that we love participation and engagement. So throughout the session today, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them into the chat or the Q&A. If you don't know me yet, my name is Jesse Hill, and I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. And I am joined and assisted today by Tin Mar. She is our sales operations analyst, and she's the one that will be monitoring those things and bringing any questions and things to my attention. Get the slideshow advancing here. So Tier 3 IT Solutions, just very quickly, we are an IT services provider, and we're here to help you in your business, and particularly today to talk about cybersecurity risk and phishing awareness. For those of you who are attending live, stick around until the end of our session today, and we'll be doing a draw for a $50 gift card. Tin is off camera. She'll be coordinating that, and so we'll just need to make sure we've got names and contact information for those winners. And then on the screen right now, if you want to participate, it'd be really fantastic. Take your phone out, scan that QR code. We've got a couple of questions on there that are going to help us understand a little bit about where you're at in your cybersecurity journey, and help us learn a little bit more about you and tailor some of our content to the audience that we have here today. And we have a note on here. We are running a series of cybersecurity awareness briefings. I see your note there about the link. Let me get that and put it in the chat. All right. So you should be able to click on the link in the chat as well. Appreciate you asking that question. First lesson learned of something we would do next time on this one. But what we have there, the last part of that draw, a $3,000 WestJet travel voucher. And what this is as many businesses out there, we are looking to grow our network and connect with the right types of businesses that may be able to benefit from the work that we do. And so you'll see in the link there's a couple of questions about that briefing and just a little bit of eligibility. We do need to make sure that the people that are attending those briefings are, right fit, qualified businesses. And if you are already a Tier 3 IT Solutions client, thank you so much. We appreciate all that you do for us. For you, if you want to get entered in that draw, what we're actually asking for is a referral or an introduction. And I'm always happy to talk to you and answer any questions you have about that. But let's move on and focus on today's session. So as you know, our discussion today is all about phishing, social engineering, helping you understand the types of attacks, the red flags, and ultimately how you can hopefully educate yourself, educate your coworkers, your employees, and protect your business. Because the reality is that the days of kind of blind cyber attacks is less and less common. More often than not, it's not somebody that is technically hacking into your systems. It's about people that are tricking your employees into handing over access, handing over sensitive information. And they do this by getting your staff primarily to click shady links or opening the virtual doors that they shouldn't. And the scary part is that these scams, they work a lot more frequently than you'd think. I think a lot of you are on here because I sent a little video from earlier this week, and we're going to look at it live later on, where I was actually able to see a phishing attack in real time. And I was able to see how many people were actually navigating to and potentially falling victim to that particular attack. The thing about where social engineering has gone is that the attackers have really started to understand and learn the psychological manipulations that they need to develop behind the scenes. They're pushing emotional buttons like fear, urgency, curiosity, and trying to get you to act quicker than you can think. That's the reason why social engineering works so well and why it's ultimately responsible for many of the data breaches and system compromises that we might hear about, or that maybe you and your business have experienced in one way or another. So let's take a look at some of these and know what we need to look for. So there's lots of different ways that these social engineers are going to try to, take advantage of your staff, break into your business, and they are getting more persistent and more sophisticated every day. So we can see the list on here. We're going to run through them really quick, the typical types of social engineering attacks. We start off with, kind of the classic phishing. And it's amazing to me how many of these we get on a day-to-day basis. But really what it is you're getting an email that appears to be from your bank, your boss, maybe a subscription or a service that you're signed up to. And the email is designed to look legitimate. It's urging you to click on a link, telling you that your login has expired, maybe your credit card needs to be renewed. And because it looks so close to the authentic, provider, a lot of people end up clicking those links, and those credentials then get into the hands of the attackers. And the main reason that they continue to do this is, and we talk about this on lots of our sessions, most people, unfortunately, still have really poor cyber hygiene. And what I mean by that is that they're often using weak passwords that are short, that are simple, and that are being reused across multiple platforms. So attackers know that if they can get one set of credentials from you, a username and a password, and they can then build a bot that's just going to try them over and over and over again, eventually they're likely to find another site or service that they can get into. So the phishing is a little bit of the mass market attack. Spear phishing is when they get more targeted. And through all of the information that we share online today in our social media, on our blogs, updates and things that we're putting out there, the attackers, really sophisticated attackers, are building a profile around their ideal target. They know your name, your role, they know who you work with, they know how long you've been there. If you're an oversharer, they might know where you like to go on holidays, what you have for animals, all of those types of things that allows them to send a much more focused, much more targeted phishing attack. And often when we get into spear phishing, you find out that the attackers are actually using multiple methods to expand their reach and to dig deeper into gaining access to your business. So pretexting, this actually is when they're making up a believable story, a reason that you would need to interact with them. And quite honestly, one of the ones that I think is becoming more common is they might call you and say, "Hey, it's Jesse. I'm from the IT department. We're actually working on something remotely, and it seems like your login might have a problem. Can you just, pop open your browser, visit this page, and double check that it's correct?" We actually saw this in the MGM casino attack about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, where somebody actually phished the MGM IT support department and pretended to be on the IT support team and got them to share administrative credentials for their critical servers. And if you don't remember, I mean, the MGM hotel and casino empire was offline for weeks, cost them billions of dollars in revenue. So the pretexting is trying to convince you that the story is real and to get you to go along with it. The quid pro quo pro attacks, I think we see these more frequently nowadays with employment types of scams, where somebody's offered you a job, they pretend like they've sent you a check, and that unfortunately they sent you too much, and they want you to refund the extra. Or maybe they ask you to, they offer you a gift card or some other kind of access to a site or a service that you might want. And it might seem harmless, but they know that once you accept something small, then you're more likely to accept something bigger. Baiting. This is about dangling something tempting, like exclusive content or a free download that you would normally have to pay for. Maybe it's a course or something like that. And the goal, again, is to get you to click, to follow through, to hand over either sensitive information or access, or maybe they're trying to trick you into downloading some software that has some embedded malware that is going to cause some problems for you and your team. Tailgating. This is more in the physical access. And I think that that's one thing to keep in mind here when we talk about social engineering is a lot of people think about the tech side. How are they getting into my email account? How are they getting into my laptop? But your business, your organization also needs to manage that physical access and control. And so tailgating can be somebody showing up and following an employee into a sensitive area of the business, pretending that they belong there when they don't. And once people physically get in, it's the same as getting into a network. People generally don't question it if you walk confidently. And then the water in the hole attack, this is where it's a little bit more technical, but a lot of times the attackers will compromise a site or a service or a web page that gets a lot of traffic, and they'll manipulate that page to collect your information, to trick you into sharing things that you shouldn't, so that they can then collect massive amounts of user data and turn around and use that for an attack elsewhere. So what do they look like? We just mentioned that there's a lot of different types of social engineering attacks. But when we talk about phishing, it has expanded well beyond just being an email. We need to be aware today of smishing, which is through SMS or text messages. I'm not sure about you, but there's multiple times that you get a text message saying, maybe you've won tickets to an event, or you've won a gift card, or enter your details for a chance, all of those types of things. And again, the reason that they've moved over to this is that there are many, many studies that show response rates on text messages are significantly higher than on email. We've all been inundated with email for so long that we probably delete more than we read. And SMS, it's a little bit more private in most of our lives. And so the studies show that when we receive text messages, they're open, typically in less than a minute from when they're sent. If there's a somewhat legitimate looking text message, the likelihood you're going to click on that is potentially higher. Phishing, this one is by voice. And I think we've all experienced those calls where we know right off the bat it is suspicious. It is, an attack of some kind, and we need to be even more diligent about that, particularly with all of the AI tools that are available nowadays. It is a challenging time to stay secure because the large majority of us have enough video and audio content available out there that they can capture our voice and type a text into a platform and have it speak as if it's that particular person. How we protect ourselves from this is challenging. We really have to be cognizant as the receiver of those calls that we're not sharing information on an inbound call. If someone says they're from our bank, thanks so much, I will call you back, right? And I'm calling them from the phone number off the back of my card, not off the phone number that they called me from. And so we need to consider that we need to always be verifying before we're willing to share access or information. So phishing today, it is a moving target. Like I said, AI is really advancing this stuff. They're writing better scripts. The days of the obvious grammatical and spelling and those types of errors that we used to see, I wouldn't say they're gone. It's still something we want to look for, but they're making a lot fewer of those types of mistakes, let's say. So how can you tell that something is a social engineering attack? First step coming to something like this, and I hope everyone's learning something and that we're able to help you with this. When we look at a text message type of a smishing attack, first thing is it a normal type of request? If you get a text message all of a sudden from the CEO asking you to share login credentials or to rush to the store to buy gift cards for a client event, if that's never happened before, take a step back, verify it. Again, don't verify it through the method that the suspected attack is happening. Hitting reply on a text message like one of these is just going to give the attacker a little light of hope that maybe they can get you on their hook and they're going to be able to continue the con. The urgent tone, again, these attackers, they don't want you to think. They want you to react. So they want you to do it now, or your account will be locked, or we've detected fraud. And by creating that panic and that sense of urgency, they tempt you into whatever the activity is that they're trying to get you to do. I think we see this, and we've probably all heard about this in the grandparents scam, I think they call it, where people are using voice AI tools to call somebody and tell them that their grandchild, as their grandchild, hey, grandma, grandpa, I've been in a car accident, or I've been arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence. I need you to come, send me $500. And so we again, it tugs on our emotions and our urgency and tempts us to do something right away, but we really need to think about it. And then the too good to be true offers, these are the things. You've won an iPhone, claim your reward. It's funny. Of course, I opened up and shared a link for an opportunity to talk to us more, to potentially win a travel voucher. So some of those are legit. You need to be able to tell the difference. And if it's a completely unsolicited, kind of suspicious type of message that you're getting, that's how you might know that it's, quote unquote, too good to be true. So not only do you have to train yourself, but you have to also train your team and your employees, because in a business, the challenge is that we need to be secure 100% of the time. A cyber attacker needs to find a vulnerability once. And if they can get their hook into the business in one department, well, then they can use that to learn about the organization, learn about the people, build that trust, and start expanding their reach into other areas. So let's take a look at a phishing email, and we'll talk just a little bit about how you can spot it. Because often today, they look like the real deal. And so just train yourself to look for the clues. Now, there are 6 different items that we're looking on here. We also have an acronym. We simplify it down to the SLAM method, but we'll run through these and we'll talk about the other one after. So the first thing is that generic greeting. If you were getting an email from a legitimate vendor, partner, customer, they would use your name more likely than dear customer or hello user. So the real businesses, they know who they're talking to. Unfortunately, the sophisticated hackers will also learn that. So that's why we have to look deeper. Misspelled words, awkward grammar, weird formatting. If it causes you to just question it, again, take that step back. Big businesses in particular, they have proofreaders, they have tools that help them draft professional mail. But with all of the AI tools that are available nowadays, these cyber criminals can get access to similar types of tools. Attachments should always be a concern, particularly if it's an unsolicited attachment. We may often get JPEGs, PDFs, those types of things in attachments, from somebody, and that's normal. Again, really consider, were you expecting it? Does the attachment seem to match the reason for the email? Does the attachment have a suspicious file extension, maybe a .exe or a .zip? You want to be really careful, because depending on your security configurations, you can install those and potentially install malicious software, through that process. The incorrect email address. So this is one of those ones that's always tricky, because I can go into my Outlook and I can configure my account to send as if I'm someone else. So that when you receive the email, it appears to be from billgates@microsoft.com. Now, when you click reply, then that email address is going to expose where I want the reply to go to. Because if I'm sending a phishing attack, I want you to reply to me, not to Bill Gates. And so while it's something you don't want to engage with a phishing email or a potential attack, by hitting reply, you actually sometimes expose that the email address changes and that it's incorrect. The other thing that I would encourage you is to really look closely at the domain on the email. So as an example, when we see this one here, it says your email at gmail.com. Well, what if Gmail, instead of an I, was spelled GMALL.com? Would you notice the difference between a lowercase I and a lowercase l? And particularly with longer domain names, there's more things that these attackers will do to try to mimic a legitimate party. The urgency we've talked about already. If they're trying to create that urgency, again, really slow down, think about it, verify through another medium, and then be really, really careful about links. You can hover your mouse over a link before clicking on it to see the preview of the URL. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shorteners and ways to make them look legitimate, or to make them look less concerning. So really, again, be careful. It's kind of like clicking on the attachments. Know that when you click on a link, you are willingly going to the place that it has directed you to. And when you get there, you need to know whether it's legit and what you're looking for. So make sure you pay attention to these. And again, that the other people on your team are familiar with these as well. So some things that you might want to consider for your business, email security, first of all, making sure you've got your Microsoft tenant, if you're in Microsoft, or your G Suite tenant configured with, the appropriate level of spam filtering. There are third-party tools you can use as well to stop phishing attacks. The challenge is that anytime you're trying to filter out the bad emails, you also stand the risk of filtering out good emails. Make it easy for your team to flag suspicious messages. If one person in the organization has received a phishing email, chances are other people have as well. So share it in your online chat. Make sure, and it ties in with employee training. Make sure that it's part of your regular cadence that everybody is being trained on how to recognize these scams, because at the end of the day, all of the best security falls apart if people don't know what they're looking for. Access controls is really about locking down and limiting what each particular employee has access to and can see. We only want to give access to the lowest level of information that they need to do their job, so that if something does get compromised, the fallout is a little bit easier to contain. This next one around incident response plans. If you have never simulated how your business would respond to a cyber incident or a cyber attack, I highly recommend that you do so. The best place, the best time to practice or to learn about it is before it's a real incident. We've got on here multi-factor authentication. It is critical. I'm actually going to show you a live example of one here where that may or may not protect you, but it is still critical. Make sure that every site and service that you use has multi-factor authentication enabled through either a text message or an app. And then audits. You've got to go back. Cybersecurity changes day to day, week to week, year to year. If you have not taken a step and systematically assessed your cybersecurity position in a while, now is the time. Look for those areas where you may have a weakness or a gap. Come up with a plan of how you're going to resolve those to improve your cybersecurity. I mention all the time, there is no such thing as a cybersecure business. Everybody has risks and threats. However, if you are more secure and more diligent than your peer companies, you will be less likely to suffer an incident and you'll recover faster in the case that you do. All right, I'm going to do a quick, I'm just going to switch my share here. I want to show a couple of live phishing examples. So just one last reminder, if you haven't already, go ahead, scan the QR code. We'd love to connect with you, learn more about you, and I'll just close that one off. So on my screen, I hope you can see it now. Oh, there we go. We can see that, Tim?
No.
It's just like a background, kind of a blue swirly background.
No, we can't see it yet.
Oh, I'm getting it in the note saying that people can see it.
All right.
Okay. So I wanted to share an email that I received just, I think it was last night. And for those of you who are following current events, of course, the Edmonton Oilers are fighting their way through the Stanley Cup Finals right now. And so I received this email last night at 8 p.m. It says, win tickets to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And this is an email that I think touches on a lot of the items that we just talked about, where there's an urgency, there's a reward, an opportunity to win something. There's a link. There's kind of questions around who sent it and all of those types of things. And so the thing that I would kind of start off with this is, first of all, do I recognize the sender, right? I mentioned that SLAM method. So the sender is Inclusion Alberta. I can see that the email that they're sending from is from a like email marketing platform. And so it's not going to show me that it's coming from their regular email domain. So then the next part is the links. Now, I've purposely not shown the blocked content. I will do that now. And we can see that it fills in the images. So they're professional. It's got the Inclusion Alberta logo on here. And it does have a link. Now, again, when I hover over it, it shows me where that link wants to take me. And obviously, it's hard for me to decipher if that's a legitimate link or not. The A in SLAM is for attachments, and there are no attachments. And then M is for message. And again, we talked about when I read through this message, it seems very clear to me that it's been professionally written. It's talking grammatically correctly. It's got the right dates and times and all those types of things. So I'm just going to hit reply, and I notice that when I hit reply, the address it's going to reply to is info@inclusionalberta.org. So that's good because that is a legitimate email account for this organization. Now, what I have open behind me here is the Windows sandbox. And so this is just a safe way for me to take that link. I'm going to drop it in here, and I can see it's taking me to Rafflebox. And Rafflebox is a fundraising platform. I can see looking at it all kinds of information. They have an AGLC license number. There's ways for me to verify that this is a legitimate or highly likely to be legitimate fundraiser. So my experience, again, I have to put a little bit of personality on this. I know that Inclusion Alberta has done multiple versions of this, and so that to me would imply that this is a legitimate fundraiser. Now, the second one I wanted to share, and this is an email that I received on June 4th, and it comes from a local construction company, and we'll notice right away, the sender looks good. So that's S. The L, it's got a link here, and it's just kind of dropped in. We'll notice that on the other one that we looked at, it had like an HTML URL that was shortened. So it's kind of weird that they didn't professionalize the link. There is no attachment, but then the M for message. Again, there's no greeting, not even a hello customer, just attached to the proposal. Well, I wasn't expecting a proposal, so that's kind of weird. Now, this is the one that I did the video on the other day, and I found it really interesting because when I follow this particular link, it takes me to an app called Mural. It shows me that I'm going to collaborate with him. I'm going to enter it as a visitor. Oh, and look at that. That is crazy. So oh, look at that. There's somebody who is interacting with this document right now. So this person received the same email that we received, decided to click on the link, went, oh, I don't know what this mural thing is. I'm going to give it a try. I can see that there's actually 3 people interacting with this document right now. I don't know if everybody saw his cursor, but he came up here. He clicked on View Document. Now, when I click on View Document, it's going to give me a warning. It's going to take, this says this will take me to a third-party website, which doesn't belong to Mural. I say, oh, that's okay. I'm trying to get into this document here. Now, when we follow that link, it's going to take me to what is a very realistic Microsoft login page. We notice we had the little envelope pop up and open. It's got the Microsoft sign in. I can, oh, actually can't click on it. But when I look up in the address bar, and it might, I don't know if you can all see it, this is clearly not the Microsoft login page, because Microsoft uses login.microsoftonline.com. And if we flip between these two, we notice that they are almost identical. There's obviously a difference in how they're spaced. If I click on sign-in options on the malicious one, nothing happens. If I go to the Microsoft one, oh, interesting. It actually works. Now, the other thing that I want to show you is that if I was going to log into Microsoft and I type in an email account that doesn't exist at my business, it comes back and it says that doesn't work. If I put my email address, it then takes me to a branded login page where it starts asking me for my information. If I come to the malicious one and I enter that same one, now notice it gave me a different error than what the Microsoft one did. If I put a legitimate one, it actually shows me the Microsoft login asking for the password. And the reason that it does this is this page has been coded that when I entered that email address, it reached out to Microsoft and said, hey, does this account exist? And if it does, what does that login page look like? Now, if I was to enter a password here, this web page, this malicious web page, is going to capture my password. It's going to pass that on to the legitimate Microsoft, which is then going to come back and ask me for my multi-factor authentication code. If I then enter my multi-factor authentication code, because it looks legitimate, the attackers now have my username, my password, my multi-factor authentication code, and access to my company email. So it is critical that when we see emails like the one I just showed you with links to these types of documents, with login pages that do not match and are not legitimate, that we do not click on them and that we stay safe online. So I know that we've run a little bit long here. I hope that it was helpful and valuable to everybody who joined. Tin, do you want to let me know who we've got selected for our $50 gift card?
Yes, I've sent it to you via chat.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. I hadn't seen that chat. So we've got our winner, and that is Stephen Mandoli. So Stephen, we'll be in touch with you just after this. Make sure we've got the information to get that over to you. Thanks everybody else who joined. I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions you might have. Hopefully, again, it was valuable to you. And if it was, maybe just give me a thumbs up or throw a 1 in the chat so I know that you enjoyed your time here today. All right. Nothing in the Q&A, Tim? Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.